interesting lighting situation going on, sun setting over there, and there's just a lamp there. So I am taking part in the Genrethon. What is the Genrethon? Well, it is a reading challenge which is running from the 10th to the 17th of April, and it is hosted by Lauren, Joss, Brittany and Kristen, and I will have links to all of their channels down in the description box. And the idea behind the challenge is, over that week-long period, you have to read at least 3 books from 3 different genres. Me being an overachiever, annoyingly so, I've gone for more than 3 books and more than 3 genres. So seeing as the sun is setting quite quickly, I will just jump right in and tell you about all those books. First up, I'm reading a book from a genre that I never really read from, and that is The Rats by James Herbert, which I am putting in the horror category. I spoke about this in a haul a while ago, and this is basically the story of what happens when the rats start to get their own back on humanity. I chose this book because I thought it worked quite well with the idea behind the Genrethon in reading a wider range of genres. I don't really read this genre at all. It is also only 200 pages long, so the amount of books I'm planning on reading, it works quite well. Next, I have a book that could be considered either for the historical fiction category or the young adult category, but I don't have any other books from those 2 categories, so I can kind of go in for both, I suppose. And that is Vincis Tiger by L.M. Elliot. I got this book in an owl crate over Christmas, and I never really got into reading it. I think it was because when I tried to read it, it was Christmas and it was busy and there's lots of people, and yeah, so I want to give it another go. It is under 300 pages, so it's definitely manageable, but I do think it is the biggest of the books that I've chosen for this readathon. And it is about the relationship between a muse and an artist, and that's something I'm becoming increasingly interested in. I wrote a poem about it recently. So yeah, hopefully it will help with my creative process for that poem as well. Next, I've got a poetry collection which will hopefully help me get through all these books because it is very short, only about 60 pages long I think, and it is Rapture by Duffy, and I've actually got a library copy of this one. It's described as a book-length love poem and a moving act of personal testimony from one of Britain's best-loved poets. So I think this is quite a complex collection about love, and it was the winner of the T.S. Elliot Prize, and obviously it's Duffy, so it's gonna be great. Classic, the shortest classic I could find on my shelf, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't need any sort of description. I'm sure you're all familiar with it, but it is Robert Louis Stevenson's The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This is about psychology and religion and science. This is officially classed as a novella as well, so it shouldn't take me more than like a couple hours to read, which suits the plans for the Genrethon very well. Next, I have a children's book, and that is The Vile Village, which is the 7th book in a series of unfortunate events by Lemony Snicket. I have been gradually rereading these books in the lead up to the TV series that's going to be released on Netflix, and I have taken a bit of a break from these because I did start to get quite tired of the same plot over and over again. I have missed reading them, and I'm excited to jump back into reading these. 250 pages I think, with quite large font, so again, quite manageable. Next up I have a literary fiction book, and that is Everyman by Philip Roth. I spoke about this in a haul not too long ago, and I still don't really know a huge amount about this book. I think it begins with the funeral of the protagonist, and then it goes back in time and goes through his life, an everyman sort of story. Under 200 pages, so I'm guessing it will only take me a couple hours to read. So a nice easy way of getting literary fiction into the Genrethon for me. I have a genre that I don't think has been included in like the official suggested list that the girls have done for the Genrethon, but it is a humour book, or a parody, or a satire, or a funny book basically, and that is 50 Shames of Earl Grey by Fanny Merkin. I mean, I don't really know what this is about, other than it being a parody of 50 Shades of Grey, but this is something that has been sat on my shelf for a very, very long time. I think it was a birthday present quite a while ago, and I really should get around to reading it because it has been a shelf sitter for so long. And I thought, you know, why not now? The Genrethon is about reading different kinds of genres, and parody and humour is probably a type of book that I don't read that often. Again, around 200 pages-ish. Should be a nice contrast to the other books that are on my list. And I mean, I hope it's a lot to do with tea, because... And finally, I have a non-fiction book, which is Living Dolls, The Return of Sexism by Natasha Walter. Again, I spoke about this in a haul like a while ago, a couple months ago, and this is a non-fiction book about patriarchy and sexism. It's about the airbrush, limited, restricted view of femininity that there is in the media. And I'm going to be reading this slightly differently to how I'm reading the other books in the Genrethon. The other books I'm hoping to just, you know, plow through them in either 1 or 2 sittings, whereas this I am going to plan how much of it I'm going to read. I think this is made up of 10 sections or 10 essays, so if I read like 1 a day and then a couple more on another one of the days, maybe a couple of the shorter ones, then I'll be reading this over the entirety of the readathon. I'm going to be reading 8 books from 8 different genres over the course of the week for a Genrethon. Probably a little too ambitious. I feel like I'm just setting myself up to fail, but it'll be fine. That week is my first week back to uni after Easter as well. So I'm also going to be revising and working on an essay, so I'll be doing lots of other reading for that. Even though I'll be working on an essay and on revision for exams and stuff, by then I will be finished all of my university reading for the year, which is scary. I really hope I haven't been too ambitious. I will be so proud of myself if I manage to read all of these in a week.